Since the next step is dealing with the arms, the rotary arms, we're going to go ahead and unpackage those and get those ready and get all the bolts and everything. So let's get started with that. There's one. Pallet arm 2. Pallet arm 3. And the last one. Last but not least, the fifth or the fourth pallet arm. Okay, on our next step is putting the arms on, and we're going to make sure we have all the hardware that we need before we start. So we're going to have, since in this case we have 4 stations, we're going to have 4 arms, and you're going to have 4 per each, 4 bolts per each. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 arms. So that's 16, and then 16 washers that go on the same side, on one side, and then you're going to have your 16 nuts, and then another 16 washers to go on the back side. So we're going to show you how all that goes in together. Just wanted to make sure we had all of them. They gave us 1 extra washer, which is good in case we drop one or whatever. We also have shims, and this is in case the pallet arm isn't level. We'll use those shims, and they're really thin. I don't know, they're probably maybe 1 millimeter thick, maybe 2 millimeters. I think it's about 1 millimeter thick on those shims, and we won't open that until we need them because we don't want to lose them. So we're going to get the arm set up, and then we're going to show you guys how to do it. Okay, we're back, and our next step is going to be installing the arm. So let me see if I can get a good view. So it's going to be right here. So hopefully you'll be able to see. It's basically just screwing down the pallet arm to the bottom rotary section. So we're going to take the arm, and it's going to be identical for every other station or every other pallet arm. We're going to make sure we have the flat plate of the arm, and we're going to put it flush onto the rotary. And so we're going to use the bolts that came with it. So you're going to have a bolt and a washer, just like that, and that's going to go through the top. Okay, and then you're going to have a washer and a nut. I guess it'd be a machine nut or whatever they call these. So how you can do it by one person is you can pull on the arm to give it tension on that bolt, so that way it doesn't pop out the top. But they're really smooth bolts and nuts, so you should be able to screw it on pretty easy. So I was able to get that one on. So we're just going to hand tighten them for now, and then we'll do the top one. We'll get our washer and nut, and we'll put this one on. And now that we have at least 2 of them, whether it's 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, or 2 on either side, now we don't need our hands to hold the pallet arm. And so now we can go onto the other side. Now the only thing that you want in between the pallet arm plate and the rotary are the shims. We showed you that earlier, the little gold shims or bronze type shims. And let's see if we can get you here without getting these in the way. That is only if the pallet arm isn't. That's only you use the shims in between. Right now it's going to be blue on blue, all right, metal on metal. And if you need the shims, you'll put those. And where are my shims? Let me see if I can find the shims. Alright, so if you need shims, there should be a bag called shims. And this is to go on to the, let me see if I can put you in a little closer. That's only if the pallet arm is not level. So we'll get us a small level. I couldn't find a 4-inch, all they had was 6-inch at the home improvement store. So I got me one of these, and all we're looking for on this type of level, we're not even worried about the front and back. That's going to be worried when we put the turnbuckle on, and we're going to use a longer level further down the arm to make sure that's level going up and down. Right now we're just worried about the bubble being here, and this is directly center. Okay, if it was off kilter, if it was off a little bit and that bubble was leaning to one side or the other, okay, you'll want to put shims, you know, to level it out. Usually you'll only need one. These are probably about a millimeter thick, maybe a half a millimeter. So that's the only time you want to use the shims, and that will go in between the pallet arm and the rotary. That'll go in between. So that's it for that. We're going to tighten these down because right now this bubble is exactly in the middle, and then we'll move on and show you the turnbuckle. Alright, so we got it tight. The bubble is still directly in the center, so we're good here. Now we're going to go down and install the turnbuckle, and we're going to level out the arm at the very end over here, up and down. So let's see if we can get a good view here. Here's my light. Alright, so hopefully that gives you a good view there. We're going to put the turnbuckle into these two holes, right here, right here. Alright, so we're going to get our bolt. Let's stick it through there. And get our, I guess it's a lock nut. It has a little piece of plastic or PVC, nylon, or whatever's, you know, inside there. So we're going to put that on one side. Alright, put it on the other side, and we're going to lock them down. The top bolts were 1/2 inch. These are going to be 7/16. Alright, so once we have the turnbuckle tight, we're going to now put a level onto the pallet arm, and we're going to see if it's leveled out. Alright, so we'll pick you up here and show you the level. So right now it's leaning a little bit to the front, or actually a little bit down. So if we pick it up, actually no, it's leaning up, so it needs to go down a little bit. Yeah, so I guess we can try and get it directly in the middle. You want your alignments to be as perfect as possible, but we're going to what we're going to do is, or the whole concept of this is, we're going to get our wrench. We're going to get our wrench and we're going to turn the turnbuckle. If you can't do it by your hand, do it with a wrench. And either way you turn it, it's going to make the arm go up or down. All right. And then once we get it positioned correctly and get that bubble in between the lines, we'll use the nut down here to lock it down so that it doesn't move. All right, so right now it's unlocked. So we're going to, let's see, we're going to turn it. And so we're turning it to the right. It's moving it perfect. So now let's take you back. And now it's directly in the middle. Alright, so now we want to get our wrench. And you don't want to just hand tighten it. You'll want to kind of get the wrench, and we're going to turn it tight. Okay, you don't have to monkey grip it tight, but you just want to be able for it not to move, because if you just hand tighten this nut, the threads are pretty coarse, meaning they have a little bit of gap in between each thread. So if you don't have this lock nut tight enough, it can still have a little bit of play going up and down. So whenever you do your print strokes, the arm may give you some deflection. So make sure when you get your lock nut, use a wrench and tie it down right there. Okay, so now that's locked in place, and we're going to double check our nuts on top, our bolts. Alright, so we're going to double check, make sure these are good and tight. Alright, so the bubble in the center, on the top, on the top here is still center. Alright, if you do use one of these, again, don't worry about this bubble. All you're worrying is if it's level left to right. Okay. If that bubble there is off center, that's when you use the shims on either side to make sure you get in the middle, and Make sure those are tight down. Our turnbuckle is tightened down, and our pallet arm is now directly in the middle. Once that's in the middle, you make sure your lock nut is locked tight with a wrench until it can't go anymore. That way there's no play in the turnbuckle. So there's no play in the arm. It's pretty sturdy, and that is pretty much it as far as the arm assembly. So we're done with this step, and we're going to set up and get to the next one.